Prejudice against turn-based RPGs is not gone. This mentioned by the director and creator of the ever-popular Clair Obscur Expedition 33 during an interview that Automaton had with Guillaume Broche and lead programmer Tom Guillermin. If you felt like turn-based RPGs get side-eyed while flashy action games steal the spotlight, you're not imagining it. Meanwhile, over at Square Enix, Final Fantasy's own Yoshi-P keeps explaining why the flagship series has pushed deeper into real-time action. Today, we're putting these two threads together. Is the industry still biased against turn-based? Can success stories like Clair Obscur and Persona bend that curve back? And what does Square Enix actually plan to do next? Automaton spoke with Clair Obscur Expedition 33's creative director, Guillaume Broche, and the headline is blunt. Quote, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 director says turn-based RPGs are selling better lately, but the prejudice is still there. He points out that even with Expedition 33's runaway reception, real-time action games still seem to have an easier time in the market and in coverage. He traces some of this back to the Xbox 360 era, when open-world games and more visually immediate action combat took off. And he says that's when a lot of JRPGs started to be seen as uncool. He calls Persona a standout that proves turn-based can sell big, but still an outlier in today's market. There are two big takeaways from that article. The success of Clair Obscur is real, but it doesn't magically erase the long-running bias. Second, turn-based is alive and evolving, but the Rise of Soulslike's releasing has been growing exponentially and overshadowing the other genres, especially turn-based. If you zoom out, the last couple decades had this fascinating split. On PC, you've seen a huge tactics wave post-XCOM that bled into RPGs and CRPGs. Think Divinity Original Sin, Baldur's Gate 3, etc. But most big hitter RPGs outside the CRPG revival trend continued leaning real time. That matches what PC Gamer's piece calls out renewed interest on PC, but AAA's center of gravity still skews towards the Souls-like action combat. Other outlets echo the same theme. Automaton's coverage of Broche's comments says sales are improving for turn-based, but the prejudice hasn't vanished. Video Games Chronicle and The Gamer ran similar headlines. The sentiment is consistent. Success stories exist, yet the perception battle isn't over. So why the prejudice? Part of it is its presentation. Real-time action demos beautifully. Trailers cut together instant feedback, press button, sword swings, particle fireworks. Turn-based combat is strategic and often slower burn. It's hard for a 90-second trailer to capture dopamine of a perfect plan executed across 3 turns with a perfectly placed debuff and a well-timed guard break. That marketing difference gap matters, and is exactly the tension Broche hints at. Even when turn-based sells, it can still be treated like the uncool cousin in mainstream hype cycles. Another piece is expectation. As visuals grow cinematic, there's a bigger clash between looks like an action movie and wait your turn systems, an idea Yoshi-P of Final Fantasy XIV fame has talked about directly. He's argued that ever more realistic graphics create dissonance for some players when the action on screen doesn't match immediate input. We'll come back to that in a minute. Here's what makes Clair Obscur a great case study. It's unabashedly turn-based, but with stylish, reactive flourishes, the parries and the dodges, that tap into the action game muscle memory without abandoning the core. Automaton notes that Sandfall didn't add these mechanics to dodge prejudice, they did it because they wanted to. Either way, it shows a design path where turn-based can feel modern, tactile, and marketable without losing its identity. And Persona keeps proving turn-based can still be mainstream. Flashiness, clarity, snappiness, modern UI, and slick animations can help bridge the optics gap. Broche calls Persona the obvious example of turn-based bucking the trend. Okay, let's talk about Square Enix. Why did the mainline Final Fantasy series drift from its turn-based roots into fully real-time combat with Final Fantasy XVI? A few consistent reasons come up in interviews. First, audience and expectations. Yoshi-P has said modern players, especially younger ones, expect immediate responsiveness. As presentations get more lifelike, some players struggle with command-driven pacing. Then we have creative direction. In official Square Enix interviews about Final Fantasy XVI's design, the team says they committed fully to real-time action, no command or turn-based hybrids, because that best served the experience they wanted to deliver. Lastly, accessibility into action. Pre-launch Yoshida and the team argued that their accessibility features and designs could onboard players who aren't action game first, which they framed as a way to bring more people in rather than shut them out. Game Informer captured this tension well in a feature about why the recent numbered entries have moved further from turn-based. More recently, Yoshi-P was asked again whether Final Fantasy might swing back to turn-based. His answer wasn't a hard never, but he emphasized that obsessing over turn-based versus action can miss the bigger question of what kind of game the creators want to deliver. VGC's earlier coverage quoted Yoshida explaining why the evolution of console tech made action expression more natural. Again, press buttons, sword swings, instead of commands. WCCF Tech's summary of his Anime Expo interview reiterated that he still weighs turn-based viability, but acknowledges the perception gap that the team has seen firsthand. TLDR, Square Enix isn't declaring turn-based dead, but the mainline Final Fantasy trajectory has intentionally favored real-time to meet presentation, audience, and creative goals. And Yoshi-P keeps saying the format should follow the experience, not the other way around. Now, are we actually seeing a turn-based resurgence? Yes and no. Yes, because games like Clair Obscur, Persona, and the CRPG wave demonstrate huge demand when design is crisp and the pitch is clear. No, because in the AAA space, real-time remains the safe bet for marketing and platform showcases. That matches Broche's comment. Sales for turn-based may be improving, but perception still lags. One interesting angle is scope and budget. Smaller and mid-tier teams can thrive with turn-based because combat systems are deep, but not necessarily tech spectacle heavy. That keeps budgets sane, which improves the odds of success in today's volatile market. That dynamic was highlighted in coverage around Clair Obscur's scale and success. So, could Final Fantasy return to turn-based combat? Yoshi-P has flirted with the idea that if visuals went stylized or even pixel leaning, it could be easier to pair with turn-based mechanics again. He's not promising that for a numbered entry, but he's not ruling it out in perpetuity. The bigger through line, each project should pick the combat model that fit its fantasy, not chase a checkbox. In the meantime, the hybridization route looks very alive across the industry. Turn-based cores with precisely timed inputs, action-forward games with layered cooldowns and ATB-styled meters. Clair Obscur's parry and dodge inside a turn-based structure is a modern blueprint that keeps strategy intact while giving you the tactile highs of timing and mastery. If the prejudice against turn-based really started as an optics problem during the HD action boom, then the way forward is equal parts design and presentation. Make the decision space explosive and legible. Make the feedback immediate even if the turn resolves later. Use camera, sound, UI, and animation to sell impact. When that happens, players respond, and the Persona and Clair Obscur examples prove it. On the AAA side, I don't expect the pendulum to swing fully back, especially not for Final Fantasy mainline, unless the creative pitch needs it. But I do think we'll keep seeing turn-based but tactile in high-profile projects, along with CRPGs and mid-budget teams showcasing how strategic combat can be modern and cinematic without being real-time. So, is the prejudice gone? Not yet. Is it fading? When the design is perfect? Absolutely. For players who want more turn-based in the spotlight, support the standouts quickly. Early momentum matters. Wishlist, day one buys, and word of mouth on socials all shift perception. Clair Obscur is a great example of vote with your wallet. Show the hype. Clips of amazing parries inside turn-based systems and one-turn puzzle breakdowns, and even team comp explainers can do for turn-based what combo montages do for action games. For developers thinking about turn-based for the current audience, own the identity, but steal good feel from action games. Hit stop, camera shake, reactive guards, and expressive SFX UI that reinforce decisions. Clair Obscur's stance makes this case well. Pitch smarter. Trailers for turn-based often need a different rhythm. Short, punchy, cause and effect beats so viewers get the payoff loop faster. So that's where we're at. Clair Obscur proves turn-based can still break out, but the industry's bias towards real-time spectacle didn't evaporate overnight. Square Enix and Yoshi-P aren't anti-turn-based so much as pro-pick what fits the game, and right now their flagship fantasy is best served in their view by real-time action. The future probably isn't action or turn-based, it's good games that commit and make their chosen combat style sing. But what good will all that do when you can't even get the funding? Like with what happened to the Dragon Age Origins remake, which was denied by EA head execs, which I break down in this video over here, going over why and the reasons for that choice. Thanks for watching. My name's been Suka. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. See ya.